Well, thanks for being here. I wanted to introduce you to Restorative Life Management. This is the introduction to the course. I'll tell you a little later where the main course is going to be housed. Well, actually, it's going to be housed in my community. And on the last slide, there'll be a place where you can find it. But we'll talk about that. But introduction to Restorative Life Management and uh, Second Starts is the main company. That's the number two, NDSTARTS.com. Second Starts, Richard Jones at Second Starts. And just to get you, organized to what the rest of the actual course will look like. Um, Restorative life management to me is a fundamental urgency, and I'll tell you why. In my opinion, we need to not continue to attempt to meet certain demographics of recovery patients. And when I say recovery, I do mean drug and alcohol. I do mean um, correctional situations. I do anything where an individual is trying to restore or rehabilitate. And in some areas, which we'll talk about, are different programming, but any rehabilitation area. Now, I think it's very urgent. I think that, and this could be argued, I think that we don't take the urgency toward bringing the whole fundamental team together to make a difference in some places, in some demographics. That's what we look to do in Second Starts. Um, this course is just going to outline, I mean, this introduction is just going to outline what the whole course will entail. So we're going to go through the different modules real quick and just give you a brief introduction to them. And also, like I said, at the end, give you a place to contact us or get the rest of the course. This course is actually a precursor to, any actual premium service that we might do working with people one-on-one or in group settings. But this course will give you an idea, just a brief idea of what, restorative life management is. Um, some really big points that we need to go over in restorative life management. The first point is it is built to prevent, manage, and eliminate, meaning it is built for all phases of the recovery. And I think that's important. In my mind, prevention is the stepsister of all this. If we would just put a little bit more time and mentality into prevention, I know that's difficult, but prevention to me is should be the leader, but we settle for management and elimination. So restorative life management to prevent, manage, and eliminate. One of the main cogs of it is turning external accountability into internal change, and that's a lot of the use of leverage and accountability, and bringing a dual sense of rehabilitation, meaning the the individual that we are trying to help, and then working also with their support group. So it's an external accountability into internal change is one of the main mindsets of it. Deception of condition. A lot of times this course will deal with deception of condition when we actually get into it and we talk about it. Uh, Deception of condition basically means that regardless of what condition you're working with, it does not necessarily have to bleed into every other aspect of your life. We think at Second Stars that's a misnomer. In other words, the individual who has is being treated or worked with for bipolar or having anger issues or any type of issues that and someone is getting work with, that condition does not mean that they cannot also live a structured, processed life. It's two different things, and one can be done, even while treating the other. So the condition should not be the the a block toward any other type of mentality we are trying to derive or work with this. Okay. More importantly, this is a non-clinical psychoeducational course, and what we do for people. Okay, so even though I'm an RN for many years, I do not. This is not a medical course. It's not a clinical course. Okay, it is a mind and body building, not body, but mind building course. And that's what it's really all about. And as you can see, when we get into the modules, you start to understand what kind of course it exactly is. Uh, the delivery of the course, you know, when we actually get into work with somebody is a prompts and response format. We're going to spend some time talking about that later on in some of the modules, once you understand what prompt and response does and how it works with accountability, and how it works with, again, going back to external accountability into internal change. I want to talk about the SPCC, um, structure, process, certainty, control. Restorative life management works on building a structure, implementing process, okay? Having that process create certainty. In other words, seeing the process being built, planned, and then seeing as it works will create certainty. And certainty will give control. Control in the form of control of your daily activities and control of feeling and having that sense of control. And that will also, bring about, the change necessary in order to move forward and take advantage of your evidence-based programming or whatever else you're trying to do or whatever situation you're trying to change in. And of course, traction versus paradigm, very important. Restorative life management brings a continual traction or pull against unhealthy paradigm, not to try to force or eliminate unhealthy paradigm in one swoop, but a continual traction against it. And that's exactly the mentality of RLM, or restorative life management. The modules, uh, there's three pillars of transformation, and those are important. First is the therapeutic comprehension, and that's always important because that is where we start to blend in and make better use of and augment the evidence-based treatments and assets that we have. Okay. So if there's any help out there, any information, any therapies, any counseling, any medical, that is all magnified in scope and attention and focus. In other words, we leave no we get all low-hanging fruit, and all low-hanging fruit is the help that you're already getting. So we do not look to bypass it, but we look to magnify the absorption of any of your evidence-based treatments. Support network enhancement, that is built primarily to give a new direction, a new focus, and an organization to the support network in a way that eliminates guilt, shame, and blame. And that's important. There's a total new focus. And you'll get a lot of interest in how we work that in restorative life management. And the third is a self-refueling transformation. And that is extremely important. No transformation, a transformation that is dependent is not self-refueling. It has to be able to, you have to be able to make this transformation and then be able to draw upon your own resources in order to keep it fueled and keep it going. So the course will give a brief overview on what, you know, refueling transformation actually means. So that's, modules 1, therapeutic, module 2, we're going to go into support network, and then module 3, we'll talk about the self-fueling transformation. In module 4, we're going to talk about how to properly use the mentality of agency and ownership. Extremely important is the bedrock frame of restorative life management, and it's one of the tools we use in order to implement the structure and the process. Okay. 5, organization and planning. That's also another one of the tools that will work with the process. So that is another module. Module 5, we will discuss in some detail what organization and planning means to the actual RLM system. Number 6 is communication. That includes taking in, giving out information, and also certain types of expression and how you communicate with the world. Okay. Number 7, preparation for real life implementation. Very important because any system has to be able to withstand the friction of real life activity, or else it cannot be, by definition, self sustaining. That's important to remember. Uh, Module 8, we talk about direction. Okay. And those are one of the 7 core principles. We talk about direction and what that means to the RLM system and how to use in the implementation and the accountability section. 9, talk about We talked about customization and how when in the actual RLM programming, customization is vital. Cookie cutter plans do not work in a restorative life management context. So we talk about how we customize programming, leverage support, module 10. We talk about exactly how we make value out of leverage support and the underused leverages that come from and derive from the support network. It's a great and excellent place to find whys. And that's what we, a lot of times during that leverage walk, we find the different whys for different times. Okay. 11, detrimental procrastination. This is extremely important because the activities, there's certain character, mind, situational building activities that must be carried out. And to not do those are what we call detrimental procrastination. We have a whole section quickly talk about that and what it means in the RLM program. Immediate course correction, very important module. And that module will really basically discuss what is the value and the reasoning behind quickly finding detours in the direction and quickly turning them around and not letting it fester from time to time, as far as turning that mindset around as quickly as possible. Number 13, frequency and consistent variation. Very important. It's got a lot to do with how RLM is delivered and what delivered against the mindset. So we'll give you a brief view on our view of frequency and consistent variation, how it works, what it means, and what it means to specifically RLM. And last but not least, lifelong learning. Great and tricky phrase, but in this module, we'll talk about what it means to RLM and how you can go about using it in daily life and using it as fuel to continue the transformation. Okay, RLM is vital as a fuel source for transformation. So when we go into the programming, you'll see what we're talking about. If you want to contact us before the programming to talk about it, hey, you can book a call. Okay, or call me at richardjones@secondstarts.com. You can reach us there. If you are watching this out of the Second Starts community, then act with urgency is clickable and it will take you to the Second Starts community. So if you see this, introduction anywhere else other than in the community, that will link you to community where you can get the full course. Because we have the introduction outside the course, but inside the community, that's where we will deliver the full course. So we look forward to seeing you inside the community. And there should be links. If you're seeing this on a post or anything, there should be links there to let you know how to get in the course, how to communicate with us and how to look to initiate this in your life with someone you love, or if you're a practitioner, how you can initiate this with someone that you are working with in order to boost their ability to absorb your teachings, your fundamental treatments, your counseling, your therapies. And that's very important. So again, catch up with us at secondstart.com. That's the number 2ndstarts.com. And that will give you an introduction to the community, to find a community, to further get this coursework. So we look forward to seeing you there.